We got a few new details there from the press conference, and we'll get to those. We have team coverage. We're going to begin with our reporter, Jennifer Kovaleski, who is at that press conference. Jen?
And we did learn a few pretty big nuggets when it comes to this investigation. We learned that Deputy Gumm did have a bulletproof vest on at the time of the shooting. The sheriff said that essentially there are some parts of the vest that aren't covered, and that is likely what happened here in this case. We also kind of got a timeline of how long it took them to arrest the suspect, who they believe is the suspect, who is the shooter. They said it took about 30 to 45 minutes after the shooting happened. We also learned that it was a disturbance involving men and women. We're not sure exactly. The sheriff wouldn't say exactly what that disturbance was, but that is what led deputies to be called to the scene to begin with. And while they were identifying one of the suspects, we're told that that is when the suspect pulled out a handgun and shot Deputy Gumm. Now, we heard a little bit more about the kind of person that Deputy Gumm was. The sheriff made the point to bring up that just a few weeks ago, there was a letter that was sent here to the sheriff's office, a mom who was just so grateful for his service. He had pulled over her son and worked with a traffic ticket with him, and just his behavior and how he treated her son made enough of an impact on her that she wanted to write a letter here to the sheriff's office, which I think just speaks a lot about the kind of deputy that he was as we're learning more about him. We learned that his wife's name is Natasha. We also learned that they just thanked the community for all of the outpouring of support and the donations and all of the things that have come in. They are asking for any donations to go directly to the Adams County Sheriff's Foundation. That is the best way to make sure that the money that you are donating is going directly to this family, and that's what they made clear. And in lieu of flowers, they said that the family is asking for donations to be made to Children's Hospital. Now, there are still big questions here about those two suspects, which the sheriff said it's kind of hard to call them suspects because they don't believe they were involved in shooting Deputy Gumm, but they were involved in that original disturbance, and they know information about that disturbance, so they want to talk to them, and they are asking them to come forward. They're asking anyone with information to call the Adams County Sheriff's Office and to help them to track these folks down. They did say the lockdown has been lifted. It was lifted in the neighborhood early this morning. They're not sure how those suspects got out of the perimeter, because clearly the other suspect, they believe, wasn't able. They were able to find him in about 30 to 45 minutes. The other big things to remember here is that this is a suspect in custody. They have a guy they are going to have to take to trial. They're going to have to prove their case. So there are a lot of procedures that have to be followed. There's evidence that needs to be collected, and that's going to take time, and it's a lot different than what we saw with Deputy Zach Parrish in Douglas County when he was killed, and so was the suspect. And we got a lot of information in the weeks and days following that investigation, but that's because we didn't have a suspect in custody in the trial and the need to go to court, and nothing is more important to this sheriff's office right now than making sure that the man they believe murdered their deputy goes to jail and serves the time that the courts deem fit. So, I mean, there were some big things we learned here again, that the bulletproof vest, that he was wearing that, but still that the shot was able to get through. And we also learned a little bit more about who Deputy Gumm is. But this investigation is still very active and ongoing, and those suspects are still out there tonight, and police are looking for them. Reporting live, I'm Jennifer Kovaleski.